enlightened compromises in the manner in which this country and government are being run right now. This enlightened compromises is completely out of the dictionary. And you spoke of brittle, hard choices, foisting your opinion down. Do you concede that that is true? That there is too much of my way or the highway, fall in line or else? Whereas India is really an amalgam of different streams that flow all at the same time without any one stream trying to disrupt the other, rather than just one stream and this is the way it will be.
No, I think it's a transitional phase. When you're trying to shift the needle a bit away from an elitist, self-hating, self-loathing civilization to something that accepts a large part of the good parts of your heritage, even while admitting there are a problem, there will be some shift because you're making a shift from the way of thinking from the left liberal consensus that India was never a real entity, it was created by the British. This is the narrative we've been told, and our elites accepted it throughout the last 60 years. Now, when you want to make a shift, you have to do first make a very emphatic shift, and then you come to a moderate position. That is what I think is happening. You are caught history at the time point when
once
it is
you've made
changing.
an extreme emphatic shift, is there space then for moderation later?
Like pendulums, it always moves to one extreme before it moves back to the center. I want to make one more point. You know, the the problem here is when we talk about India and Bharat, I don't think there's any conflict. We're both talking about the same thing, right? But a name given from outside, like I'm sure 99% of the people here have names given by somebody else. So there's no problem in accepting that. The issue is we are confusing a name given and a cultural identity. Those are not two the same thing. India is not Bharat for the same reason that Bharat is our self-created sense of identity, whereas India is a geographical construct.
No, I want to build on the idea of a pendulum, that from the left, the pendulum is shifting to the extreme right. Ultimately, the pendulum settles in the center. That's Jaggi's point of view. The fear, though, could be as it shifts from the left, it stays on the right, doesn't necessarily moderate and come to the center.
You see, first of all, I don't think that there is a need for such a dramatic swing of the pendulum. We are a nation in evolution. There are correctives. I think we need to reclaim much more of our culture and have the knowledge about it. When I wrote the book Adi Shankaracharya, Hinduism's greatest thinker, many of my friends, well educated, did not know when he was born what his contribution was. We have read Shakespeare, but we have never read Kalidas. I mean, we don't know who Thiruvalluvar is. So, I mean, there are random examples, but there's so much of this. It was a great an ancient civilization which was marked by refinement, continuity, antiquity, assimilation, and it has survived over millennia, and we need to know more about. Having said that, when you say that only one label is the choice to reclaim that civilization, let me give you a controversial example. Let's take Sanatan Dharma. I emphatically condemn the language used by Udayanidhi Stalin and others of his party to denigrate it. At the same time, now this is Hinduism. This is the greatness of Hinduism, it's conquering eclecticism. Hinduism has never burnt anyone on the stake for blasphemy. But there have been different interpretations of Hinduism. The Charvak school in Hindu philosophy, which is a materialistic school, said the Vedas are a bunch of lies. It remains a part of Hinduism. So now what is Sanatan Dharma? If you define Sanatan Dharma largely as, for instance, the ruling party is doing and what is prevalent in the north, in the south, in for instance Tamil Nadu, 89% of Tamil Nadu are Hindus. Of them, 70% are backward caste and 20% are Dalits. So from 1925, Periyar, who's the founder of politics in Tamil Nadu, his entire narrative is based on reform within Hinduism. Incidentally, the greatest voice for reform within Hinduism and attacks against aspects of Sanatan Dharma was Veer Savarkar, whom the BJP deify. He called them the seven fetters. Now what is the Tamil version of Hinduism is that it is a great religion, 89%. You know, Tamil Nadu is the repository of Hinduism in many ways. Adi Shankaracharya came from the south. Ramanujan came from the south. The point is that for them, what is Sanatan is not the fossilization of Hinduism, but for social reform within Hinduism. But if you tell them that if you speak in anything against our definition of Sanatan, where everything within it is eternal, you are not a Hindu, then you create a problem which is going to be become worse, dividing the north and the south among
Let
Hindus.
Jaggi respond to this. The fact that Hinduism itself has so many manifestations, and the idea that you pick one Hindutva leaning version and then try and foist it on everyone, then creates a pushback, because other Hindus who are genuinely Hindus and fully Hindus don't say that this is our Hinduism. They don't associate with it in the same way.
Yeah. I think you have to separate between the reaction in the north, which was devastated by two types of colonialisms, especially iconoclastic colonization of a bit from 800 AD to now, and till the era, and the south was colonized by the British. So there is a difference between the reaction to Hindu issues in the north, because the entire temples were razed, and their reaction is much more stronger because of that. In the south, which is actually, I think, the repository of the older Hinduism, the reaction has been quite different. And the problem, I think I completely disagree with him on Savarkar and Periyar. Savarkar was truly wanting to reform Hinduism. Periyar actually had only anti-Hinduism as his card. He wanted to destroy not just Brahminism, he wanted to destroy the whole of Hinduism. Even today he says, they are racists basically. They basically bought into this Aryan Dravidian thing, and they are pushing this racist theory of Dravidianism, which has no basis in reality. There is no archaeological evidence that Aryans invaded. Definitely tribes came in and went, and all those intermarried. But there was no invasion, there was no migration, maybe possible. But they have now created a binary of a racist division in this country, which is genetically proved to be wrong. Now, if you want to support this racism and say this is a form of reform, I disagree. Periyar is nowhere in the same kind of reformist mold as a Savarkar.